Recording is on.
Oh, hello, and welcome to the DXbiz Dev Call for the 10th of May, 2021. Ooh, I'm echoing. Yeah, on the agenda today, we have, well, supposedly new member introduction, but I don't think there are any. HATS collaboration introduction with a few minutes to ask some questions, and I think Oren is here. Continued from last week is kind of like the OMI discussion and specifically the competitions that we plan to do for markets. Some XDI status and kind of like a DX venture investment and for the work swapper pool. And yeah, that's it for topics, and I guess we can start with the first one with the HATS introduction. Wait, there are no new people, right? Yeah, I don't think so.
No.
So, all right, great, yeah. Yeah, so basically there's a post on DAO Talk, and I also linked this in the Keybase. I am fairly affiliated with this project, and Oren is as well, which I guess most of you guys know from DAO Stack. Just link the article below. Oren, are you here? Do you wanna?
Yes, hi, I'm here. Actually, as you said, I don't have much time. I'm sorry, it's only 5 minutes for questions, but maybe next week we can do a longer meeting, like maybe 30 minutes, where I can present the project and the deck, etc. So now I believe that I already spoke with you about the project, and I'm not sure if you read the post and the blog. So if you do, so if you have any question, do you want, what I can do is like maybe pass over the mechanics of that or whatever, but I don't have much time.
Yeah, I have a question. You guys are claiming that, or are planning to use like an off-chain encrypted communication protocol in order to allow white hacks to communicate with projects or whatever. How do you guys want to do? Like, what technology are you going to use to provide this communication process on the dApp level?
Well, for now we are doing that via Telegram. So we'll have a bot which filters the messages for the committee itself. I mean, it will forward message only which has a claim on chain before, and and this is how we'll do it as a start. We also plan to do that in Keybase as well. So the message will be encrypted with the PGP key of the committee. Each committee will have its own PGP, and the description of the hash will be encrypted with this committee public key, which will be public in the application.
Yeah, and I think like one thing we did is like we did talk to status, but it doesn't look like they're fully ready yet for something like that. Yeah.
So in general, we are doing the end-to-end encryption ourselves via the user browser and the Telegram channel.
Yeah. So, oh, can you hear me? Yeah. So maybe I'll briefly like go over like what HATS is. It's essentially kind of like an active bounty program for Ethereum smart contracts. The goal is to actually, yeah, I'm echoing pretty bad. Sorry. Yeah, so the goal is to create essentially a scalable model for securing Ethereum smart contracts. And yeah, I think Oren and Shai came up with this idea a while ago, and this has been in the work for around the past 6 months. And yeah, what will happen eventually is, in the case of DXDAO, is that DXD people will be able to stake DXD in a pool, and instead of hacking one of the DXDAO products like Omen or Swapper, people will be able to release the hack or disclose the hack to the committee, and instead of hacking the protocol and crashing it and etc., they will be able to use to basically get some of the funds in the pool that has been staked by DXDAO stakers. This is a very, very brief overview. And yeah, I don't know if there are any questions. Maybe we can have them next week. But the goal is for this to actually become a proposal, and for the DXDAO to secure its smart contracts using the HATS security platform.
Yeah, thank you, Elon, for that. But in general, yeah, we are a marketplace for hackers or auditors. And I think that for a project like DXDAO, which already had some kind of a bug bounty program, so it's, first of all, it will be much easier to bring up a bounty program on HATS. I think the reward will be much higher eventually and it will be much profitable for the hacker or the auditor to audit DXDAO contracts via HATS than do it that directly versus DXDAO. What you will gain, I think eventually your contract and your system will be much safer because of all the incentives around, also for the insurer and also for the hackers and the auditors. So I encourage you maybe, just if you have any question, issue, discussion, so let's do it on DAO Talk. We already post something there, so let's discuss over there, and maybe next week we can have a wider and longer discussion about HATS. And I hope we can collaborate together. We plan to launch around the end of this month, maybe earlier, with 2, 3, maybe 4 selected projects. Nice one. One of them is Nexus Mutual. And it will be amazing if DXDAO will join the pools.
Yeah, I don't know. Any other questions? Or?
So if the DXDAO is doing an own pool, how much do we have to put in? Is there like it's like the idea that you put in a percentage of your token, or a dollar amount, or
you can deposit as much as you wish, but there is no percentage. What we probably will do, we limit that to maybe 1% of the. We will stop rewarding with HATS token when the pool will get to around 1% of the project economy, which means that this is what that it means. That if DXDAO now hold $60 million, so you can do the calculation. But
But we have like the idea to make a token for Omen. So Omen needs then an own pool, or DX is only one of it's one token we have now, but in the future we have more tokens.
So you can actually, now we are supporting a token per pool, which means that you can have, let's say, a single pool for with a DXDAO token, but the bounty program will cover all the sub-project of DXDAO, include Omni. Or what we can do, we can have a pool with DXDAO, with DXD token, and another pool with Omni token. And this separate pool will have different bounty program. I mean, they will cover different applications, different contracts.
Yes. But you have to find the contracts, or is it just you have to define the contracts? Because if we add new contracts, so do we have to define the contracts, or is it just?
No, it just there's a process, not very complex, of bringing up a committee and a bug bounty program, and this will and eventually DXDAO will need to select a committee which will represent it, and the committee will eventually set up a bounty program, which is kind of eventually it's a JSON that describes the severities of the program, which contract it covers, and stuff like that. So if you want to change that in the future, you can do that.
Is there somehow an interface for this? No, is it possible to see the interface right now? Like
there is actually we have. I can show you the interface, but not now. I can tell you that we are really in good progress. We have everything up and running on Rinkeby. We estimate that we finish our audit actually next week, and I hope we can maybe next week we'll do a small demo for you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.
Guys.
Bye, Oren. Yeah, I don't know, any other questions maybe that I could answer, because I've been fairly involved with the product since the start.
Yeah, I guess there was a discussion about DX Ventures and hats, so I was wondering how that was related to this conversation.
Yeah, so I mean, it's there are two verticals of collaboration. This is the first one, and the second one is the DX Ventures one. The problem right now is that I think Tammy maybe has updates, but the fundraiser needs the investor to go through KYC. So that's the status, and yeah, if you want to update Tammy.
Yeah, that's basically it. Like Elon said, we don't necessarily have to do a KYC. The main pursuit right now would be some sort of blockchain analysis of funds. And we're working on basically sourcing that out to a third party to do the analysis. So once we get a proper quote on that, we can basically move forward with doing the analysis. And I think that would be sufficient to do an investment in hats if the community decides to do so.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, any other questions? So I'll just say, I think it's kind of like a great angle to secure a project, because you're locking DXD, or sort of like security farming, quote unquote, for the DXDAO contracts. And it adds kind of a utility to the DXD token because you're securing the big suite of DXDAO products, and yeah, gets you sort of invested or take a stake in the hats project, which I think is very cool. And if this is successful, it could be very worthwhile. And yeah, I mean, I'm obviously biased, right? But yeah, leave it to I don't know, the further discussions, and yeah, the DXDAO to decide how and if to collaborate. So yeah, that's that.
One quick thing, just based off of last week's conversation, have we thought at all about retaining, I think it was a group of individuals from Meta Cartel to actually do some sort of memo regarding the investment for us, that would be a great thing that we could maybe get going now while we're figuring out the whole blockchain analysis question. Yeah, just wanted to touch base on that and see what people thought.
Yeah, just more background on that. There's a smallish team that does some work as part of and does some work for Metacartel Ventures for potential investments, and they have a goal to do those services on potential investments for other entities in the space, such as DX Ventures, or there's a bunch of other DAOs that are doing similar style investments, and they can offer that service. If they're doing it for one, like potentially they maybe have already done it. So like we would have to, figure out what the cost would be and how much work they're putting into providing a deep analysis of a potential investment. And DXDAO could leverage that, but would pay for that service basically. And HATS, given that it like ties in with the entire ecosystem, could be a good first one to hire them, so we can ask them about that and then figure out what it would cost if DXDAO wants to hire a third party to do analysis. Yeah.
Cool. That's very cool. And yeah, I see like Nathan asking Chris what to pitch and bring us some deals. Yeah, I can just tell you that, just from being a part of this, like just managing some of the outward facing communication stuff, there's just like an insane amount of like DAO VCs happening right now, and it's kind of crazy because, yeah, I don't know. I feel like everybody got rich, so now everybody's like a VC, and this is
yeah. I mean, exactly, yeah, and that's also kind of like a problem, right? Especially like if if there are like products to be built, and yeah, I don't know, like if it's a good idea if we are bombarding DX Ventures with like new deal opportunities. I think that would be very distracting unless we really have like someone who's solely focused on DX Ventures.
Yeah, to bring it back to like the initial, like you can read about what the initial goals of DX Ventures were, and it in no way is to be like a professional full-time VC functioning entity that is like analyzing all the deals to make revenue in the space and stuff like that, like doing what 1KX or other actual VCs do. That was never the point of DX Ventures. So really, these more ground up projects that are filling a need for actual DXDAO's needs and putting some money towards solving those problems is like what the point of it was. And unless someone proposes a new idea for it or a way to change it into like something more professional or more with a full-time team or something, we're going to have to leverage the knowledge of the actual just community to make these decisions without like acting as a professional VC, is my view.
Yeah, and I think kind of like the thing making DX Ventures a bit, I guess another angle that makes it different is that we're focusing on products that DXDAO will use, or that progress decentralization, open source code, stuff like that. So
yeah, to that point, like if HATS is happening no matter what, with or without DXDAO funding, and we get to use the benefits of the product, and we get input because we have a partnership, and it solves a bug bounty thing that DXDAO does not currently have, there's like no need to invest in it, right? Like we can still use it. So DX Ventures maybe need to focus on putting money towards things that DXDAO needs that aren't in existence or can't get funding from other places. Like we can use hats, so maybe a partnership and using it would be more effective for DXDAO than actually investing in it.
Yeah, like at the moment, everything can get funding. Like seriously, there's basically people are throwing money like left and right.
Yeah, so maybe DX Ventures doesn't need to be too active right now. If
that's what I'm thinking. It probably makes more sense to maybe, be a bit more on the sidelines and wait till the funding environment has cooled down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add then that, well, with this investment, then we need to decide if we want to go forward with the steps that it'll take to review it, because like you said, we don't have any single contributor who fully invests their time towards DX Ventures. And I think we need to add some clarification around this regarding like the point, like I think Sky summarized it really well. I also think that the post he made is a very good summary of it regarding filling pain points or needs that DXDAO has. I think the general idea of decentralization may be almost too broad at this point for our purposes, because it seems that's like most things on Ethereum right now are filling that type of market niche. I think if we do go forward with with the idea of doing the hats investment, we should definitely have a third party do some sort of analysis, but it should be more based off of what we specifically want, not based off of just like return on investment or traditional aspects that a VC would look at.
Yeah, all right. I guess we can chat about this in the forum and kind of offline. Should we move on to the next topics? The first one is the Omen markets competition. Do you wanna talk about this more, Sky?
Sure. So coming out of last week's biz call, there was a big focus on product, like Omen product, and like how to get more users, how to get more awareness across the space, how to link in with Twitter and other projects. And I posted a forum post with like a bunch of the takeaways from that, but one of those takeaways is to do another Omen markets competition. And I think there's a little confusion because the point of the Omen markets competition is to like see if the community can source a bunch of really good markets. It's not a competition for users of the product to like get ranked. Like once there's markets, it's not like a competition of, it's not like a user competition. It's a bounty competition in order to try to source really good markets for Omen. But at the end of the day, the rep holders on XDXDAO would be the ones that like vote on this. Let's say we attracted 100 markets. It's the rep holders who have to have the knowledge of what would make good markets, what would be good for LPing markets, to then pick the markets that would be ideal and good for Omen. And so the idea was to get some structure that would improve, like maybe get more markets and get better markets than the last competition, because the last competition had 3 markets that weren't very like popular and didn't get much trading volume and things like that. I think Pulp and Jordan and Nathan all had some views around categories and all this kind of like specific little details. A few people were also, I shared like more information around like what was the outcome and what were the learnings from the last competition, and then some open questions. And so we're getting very detailed about like what makes good markets, and then Jordan proposed some like KPIs on what we should be like measuring coming out of the competition. At this point, we don't have enough users to like really measure changes in percentages of engagement and all that kind of stuff. So I think those KPIs seemed more for like if it was a user competition. But like I think there's a general agreement that like throwing a little bit of money, $5,000 or $10,000 in prizes that you could use, then market that across the space and get some awareness on Twitter. Like it's worth throwing $5,000 or $10,000 at it. And so maybe bumping up the prizes, doing a whole like 10 prizes instead of just like 3 prizes seems like a good idea. So I guess the next step would be, if anyone has any thoughts about this overall, like otherwise we can just like narrow it down to what the structure would be and like get an actual proposal up on Alchemy to, which would be to like you have to vote on the implementation of the competition, and once that passes, which would be like 5 days, then it actually kicks off the competition, where you give like 7 days for people to enter markets, and that's where you want to make sure it's spread around the entire Ethereum ecosystem so people know about it. And then you have a whole list of, our goal would be like 100 markets. People submitted 100 different markets across all different categories and whatever. And then it's up to the rep holders to vote to pick the best markets that would come out of that, which determine the rewards and then determine which ones get funded as well. So that's the state of it. It started coming last Monday. By today or tomorrow, we could hopefully have these details narrowed down and do the actual proposal to just kick off the competition. I like some of these little details about this category and that category probably don't matter too much. Like we can always do more competitions in the future, but like we just want really good markets that the space wants to trade, basically. So that's the overall summary.
What are some of the fun markets that people are submitting?
You mean yet? No,
yeah,
no. So John had an idea, like people last week, to come with like ideas for markets. But once we have this competition, everyone here could like submit their own markets, right? You don't have to be an outsider. You can submit your own market in competition. There is separately another takeaway. There's an open spreadsheet that is in the Omen channel that like people that just want to share. Like, I don't know if that people really care about the awards of these things. Like if people have good markets, they can either create the market themselves on Omen, which is permissionless, or they can share it in a spreadsheet and the community can be like, oh, that's a cool market. Like, let me enter that one as in the competition or whatever. So the cool thing is RF Noob did put some kind of parameters and characteristics on what he thought made good markets. There's like, it's very specific on what makes a good market, but that's not necessarily on like the people entering the markets. That's more for like, once there's 100 options, like determining which ones are good to create an LP. So that's on the voters. And so having some characteristics on what make good markets is probably useful.
I've got a couple of ideas, but I guess I'll save them for the competition.
Sweet. So I guess if people think this idea is good and it's worth throwing 10 grand at it, we can create, or 5 grand or whatever, we can create a proposal this like today or tomorrow.
In general, I would propose to maybe, because I also see like the space is moving in that direction, to go away from supply side incentives and maybe move more towards demand side incentives. Yeah, I just like generally feel like the space is moving more in that direction, and it's more or less like waking up that, you know, like too many projects are overpaying way too much for liquidity.
Can you give an example for a good demand side incentive?
Compound to some extent, right? So initially they started out with like 50-50 distribution going to lenders and borrowers, but then kind of like Gauntlet analyzed the incentives a little bit more and how they kind of like affected the lending and borrowing, and then they switched to 25% lending and 75% borrowing. That already happened like last year. So yeah, I mean, since then the space kind of like really exploded with farming, but it didn't really pay too much attention to that. But I think that's just something that's, and yeah, like Balancer is doing something similar. At least I understood it more as a kind of like a gas compensation, right? I just think that's something it's probably worth more exploring.
So Chris, you're talking about Omen in general, like when we do have incentives, LP incentives versus user incentives. So like not this is not about this competition of getting markets, but like as Omen token rolls out, like where we should try to put the incentives.
I mean, sorry, Chris. I think the way we kind of structuring the rewards program on Omen, it's exactly like the demand. Like we absolutely need LPs, and we are basically like what I would love to see is we are throwing money at them at the beginning just to like really get this machine going, and we also fixed like this top-up feature on the reward system. So if there's like a really big market growing, the guild is actually able to like top up and put like gasoline on the fire to like really keep the machine going, just to make sure that like my goal is for Omen to see like to basically always have the biggest prediction market for like the most important questions, and with having this like dynamic guild being prepared for like putting gasoline on the fires or like even starting fires on very important markets, I think we are pretty good setup to be ready for that.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with the OMN tokenomics. I would have to read up on that. Thank you, Tammy, for posting that. But in general, my point is, right, if you incentivize demand, you're also indirectly incentivizing supply, right? Because you're basically like increasing the APYs for the supply side as well. And so you're basically doing both to some extent, right?
Yeah, so the only thing that we've actually who proposed it, Kermit had proposed like how do you incentivize user activity on Omen without allowing for wash trading? Because most user activity can just be wash trading by LPing and betting on the same market, right? So if you do volume, it can be gamed very easily, and this has always been the same with prediction markets. One way that Kermit and then team like evolved into like an idea was you actually incentivize like risk time basically. So if you bet on a market, the amount of risk you're taking on that market over time, I think can not really be gamed, because if you push the market away from what is the theoretical truth and you hold that risk, then someone can push it back to what the theoretical truth is. So you actually have to take risk yourself, even if you are also LPing the market. And so risk time is like a way. So if you have an Omen conditional token, if you stake that into our staking contracts, you could get rewards based off of that. So it's like you can't just like wash volume through. And so that's the only idea that we've heard, and there could even be problems with this. That's the only idea that we've heard where you could incentivize user activity on Omen.
Yeah, I mean, that would be one way. I think I cannot remember the project now, but like a few weeks ago, I read like one project that had like a pretty cool approach to it, where they basically looked into the wallet of that specific user and kind of like for how much volume they were responsible, and then they basically airdropped them kind of like a maximum amount. It's kind of like somewhat similar to like a DeFi passport, that is kind of like being worked on right now in a couple of, exactly, Kerman's DeFi passport. And with that, you could probably...
Yeah, but I don't think you can use volume as a, like, because you can just trade volume through your own market, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have like any direct suggestion right now, but I can imagine there are probably ways to still do it somehow. I think what you suggested makes sense as well, but yeah, I don't know. Let me read through the Omen current tokenomics, and then maybe I have like a better idea. Cool.
I think this
Chris,
is
well, Chris, you know probably the most about Balancer, but Balancer, like with the gas refund, is like you're never refunding more than you actually pay in gas, right? So you're actually just giving them money back in BAL token, but like you can't, no user can game that system. You can't make money from doing that, right?
Right. I just think it is a demand incentive, right? You're going after the traders. And so I think it's an example of that. I think it's very hard to have demand incentives that are like direct subsidies because they can be gamed. But I think we can figure out other ways.
Because that Balancer program wouldn't work if it was like 0 gas fees, right?
Right. But like the biggest deterrent to, trading on Ethereum these days is gas. So.
Yeah, I feel like maybe this is for XDAI, I guess, not gas, but having something like double payouts or double payouts until a certain point could be interesting for specific markets. Like if we have a very successful market or market that we want to be very popular, we could say, okay, this like anyone who basically predicts correctly here will get like double payout from the DXDAO. Not scalable for sure, but it could create a lot of buzz, I guess, around the product. So yeah. Anything else around Omen? Sky, do we have? I guess we could, like you and I could take this offline, like when to launch the competition and how to do it.
Yeah, it will be like you need the proposal, and then it roughly be a 12-day, like 7 days to submit and 5 days for people to vote on markets. So that's like a 12-day competition. Then you have markets at the end of that period.
Yeah,
so
we can probably do it longer, like just in case. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the next topic is sort of like the XDAI status. I think there are a couple of issues and things happening on there. Sky, do you want to talk about this, or anyone else?
Yeah, there's been lots of discussion in the chats, and then there were some community calls this weekend, which I think Zet and John attended, and there's just like an overall situation with XDAI and them not having a great governance process, and DXDAO in general, like devs and us have not they didn't have a governance process, so there wasn't much of a community to participate in. They only launched it like a month ago, and they don't have the expertise that DXDAO and OneHive and other communities have in the governance process, and this latest proposal turned into a bit of a mess. But now, overall, I think could be good for the XDAI chain to get more attention and more capital to XDAI. There were some discussions around like how Swapper could take advantage of it and how we can work with OneHive and then also with XDAI team to like get some benefits out of this. But I don't know if anyone else has any key thoughts, but
yeah, I had a brief discussion on a Telegram group with the proposal creator, which is like a XDAI business guy, and he actually didn't see any issues with like being the proposer for SushiSwap, and it's kind of like it's kind of sad that they don't see like how big this fuck up actually was. Also, the fact that they actually have a description about how governance should work, like mainly if you put something into the forum, you wait 2 weeks to let like discussion happen, and they just rush it through. And like they just rushed it through even like in combination with the snapshot. The interesting part here is that they actually included this kind of like rushing through process depending on like how they just like decide to do based on like which project is just coming to them and proposing something to them, like even in the background. So there's like in their governance process that they are actually able to push stuff through just like very quickly. And right, like what we should learn out of it is that we should try to like be actually governors also on XDAI, which means we should prepare a similar like rewards program for Swapper. And like more, I think even more important now is like creating a rewards program with like stake for Omen, like potentially like in combination with our liquidity rewards feature release. So we saw with Gnosis, sadly, the proposal didn't went through, but we could do very similar things with the XDAI team where there's like a multi-sig setup and they are just pushing like stake rewards into like big important Omen markets. So I think that's what we should learn from it. I think we should help them out in terms of like actually do real governance. What they did right now is just like a big fuck up, and we should be very critical about that too. But also trying to help them actually like go into like a path where the real communities participating in this XDAI governance.
Yeah, clearly communication botched on the XDAI team's part, and I think it's good that we're letting them know how people are feeling. It's not just us. Like I think OneHive is actually quite like a bit more upset than people in the DXDAO community are, but it's a good opportunity now to work with them to like kind of set things right and you know make sure that the existing communities are getting a fair shake and getting incentives as well. I think overall, like SushiSwap coming is a good thing. You know, that's like going to bring more attention to XDAI and stake, and like it's good that the XDAI team is doing this, right? They should be doing more biz dev like this, and you know, part of the reason why maybe Polygon has run circles around them, right? Like they should be doing more. But yeah, I mean, OneHive is super upset, and I think you know we kind of share their grievances and understand where they're coming from there. And I think this is also like opened up some communication channels with them, and we should be trying to do more collaboration with OneHive. They have an awesome community. They're doing really cool governance stuff, and I think there's lots of opportunity. There's like a little bit of you know, maybe this temptation to think, oh, like Swapper and HoneySwap are competitive, and therefore we're like competing with each other. But that's just one of like, you know, multiple product initiatives on both sides, and there's tons of opportunity to collaborate. So I think we should be sending the message that just because like we both have dexes does not mean that we like should be like at each other, and we should be doing more collaboration.
And there is there's an ecosystem fund, right? I guess an XDAI ecosystem fund. So I guess that Sushi is taking advantage of in this proposal. So I guess it would be good for us to try to see if we could also take advantage of that same fund for Swapper and Omen. I guess as Geronimo would say, that's another thing. And then, yeah, I mean, I think more eyeballs on XDAI is good. So SushiSwap being there, especially with Swapper's eco routing, I think we'd be really competitive. We're going to have the best liquidity on XDAI, probably. So yeah.
Another kind of question in that regard: should DXDAO somehow hold stake? Like if you want to vote for something.
Have you seen the XDAI base?
What do you mean?
7,829 stake.
Yeah. So now the question is, how will we vote with that in the snapshot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a big issue in general. It's not even if you have stake in like a swapper pool, you can't vote with it. If you have stake delegated, which is like the point of stake to delegate it, actually, you can't vote with that either. So snapshot and the small multi-sig that they're using is like mini projects, not super effective for like governance of a community. And so when you know that's an issue, most communities fall back on forum discussions and open like human to human discussions, and they skip that part and they just did a snapshot, right? And so like that's part of the main, that's what caused a lot of the problem, is like there was no governance process. And even if you want to vote, you couldn't vote, right? If you were staking, if you were delegating your stake. But in general, which we've talked about, like if DXDAO, you know, is a stakeholder in XDAI and its future, like being more involved in like where like is it going to become a layer 2? Like where is it going to get its security from in the long run? Couldn't DXDAO run a validator on XDAI or become part of the bridge? And can we hold a large percentage of stake? We could even ask for a grant of stake in order to become a validator, but we haven't been able to figure out if like some person or some people as representatives of DXDAO could be hired to run an XDAI validator. We've done exploration into that, and I don't think it's as easy. Like a DAO is not very, very good at running like physical validator hardware. So if we have ideas around that, we can become a deeper member of the XDAI community and have more say with that as well. At the same time, are we, you know, it's been talked about quite a bit that like that's kind of a temporary solution for DXDAO, right? Like we're really betting on maybe a real layer 2 in the longer run, which theoretically XDAI could become a real layer 2, but like there's not a good plan for how that's going to happen. So
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This whole governance thing is kind of funny if you can't delegate the stake and vote with it. And then, yeah, I mean, Snapshot is obviously it's not very good for governance. I find it ridiculous because it cannot even be decentralized. But yeah, most products are using exactly that because it's the easiest. So.
Yeah, for what DXDAO can do, you know, I think stronger relationships with OneHive, their existing XDAI community. They have we have a lot of overlap in different areas. I think 2, help improve XDAI governance, right? The Snapshot thing, yes, they're not taking LP tokens. I know Snapshot can do that, so they can upgrade that, presumably for next proposal. That's something that we can kind of help them along. We should be participating in this. And I think we should also be trying to apply for money to the ecosystem grant to get funding for Swapper and Omen.
Yeah, and could be like if we get I don't know, just a thought. But if we get funding for our products on XDAI, I think we should give those like these fundings away in like the incentive campaigns. I don't know if all of them, but it's kind of like it's nice to pay it forward. I think. Just a thought. So like if we apply for this grant or funding, then you know we'll say everything that you give us will be used to promote the product on XDAI. Yeah, or I guess liquidity is also something. I guess we have a couple more minutes. Should we get to the last topic, which is the Swapper work pool?
Real quick, just like another idea which was shared in the some of the channels. Like there's so Prime DAO like has launched this like DAO to DAO partnership type mechanism, right?
Research.
So Balancer and Prime DAO basically together created a pool on Balancer with Prime and BAL token. Then the LP holders of those get to vote on because they're also working on like a IDO platform. And so they use their LP tokens, which is like they both hold, to govern the ideas and products that they're working on together. So for example, so that could be cool where like if we had a DXD stake pool, right? You like XDAI team puts in stake, DXDAO puts in DXD, and you split the LP tokens, and then any things that you're like working on together, you actually use the LP tokens as the governance tokens. So it's a way to like financially and tokenomically connect a partnership, which is a pretty cool idea. You know, Prime DAOs have been coming up with a lot of unique ideas like that, but we can leverage any of those things as well. They have their own platform, like they built on their site their own platform for using those DAO to DAO like LP tokens. We could probably leverage that as well. But it's a cool way to financially connect with your tokens governance process. Yeah, DXDAO one can do that as well. Good point, Nathan.
Is Balancer deployed on XDAO?
Balancer is, yeah, I believe there is. I believe OneHive has created a balancer on XDAI, but it's not. I don't think it's being used very much. But I believe OneHive did that. Not, yeah, like, but the Prime BAO partnership is on mainnet, I believe, with mainnet tokens.
All right, yeah. Yeah, just as a reminder, there's still, I don't think this actually executed, but Pat and Prime DAO, they wanted to do like a DAO balancer pool with, yeah, all of us. I think there's a proposal somewhere, or there was a doc somewhere. So yeah, there are lots of opportunities actually for collaboration with Balancer. But yeah, could be interesting. Any other thoughts here before we move on to the last topic, which is the Swapper work pool? Yeah, no. Right. Do you want to speak to that as well, Sky?
Sure. So as Swapper comes more into the mainstream, and we are thinking about launching a rewards program, we did a test which worked, and we're going to launch a larger one. We want to incentivize like DXD pools, obviously is the main focus, but then we were thinking about like what other tokens on XDAI Swapper would be good to incentivize and build community around and get attention and awareness around. And there's a few tokens out there like Miva and House and whatever, but there's a new token which DXDAO is very familiar with, which is Work Token, which is the token that's powering the Opolis system, which is now live and out there and has been distributed to over, I think, 3,000 people or more. And there is no pool. Like Opolis can't create a pool. There's no pool. There's a tiny test pool on HoneySwap, but Swapper has the potential to create, fund, incentivize, and own like a main a pool with Work Token. And so maybe that would be Work With, or yeah, Work With would probably be a good option. And it's a bit of a unique setup for how their tokens work. Like there's a native mainnet token, and then there's a Omni bridge across of that token, and then it's being wrapped through Superfluid into a Superfluid ERC20 token, and that's the token that people have on XDAI is the Work Token. So Work DXD or Work With could be an interesting pool, or maybe potentially both. And that, if incentivizing that and becoming like the main pool for work and owning that soon, like from the start, would be a cool opportunity for Omen to become, for Swapper to become like the main place for a new.
Oh,
we lost Sky there.
Yeah, I think we lost Sky. Yeah, I mean, I would say like Work and DXD token should be what we use. Yeah, I don't know if there are any other topics, but something I wanted to bring up, I mean, this just came to my mind, is a while ago there was this guy from Ichi who came to speak. and he wanted to create basically like a DXD based stablecoin. So Lior from DAOstack, who's previously DAOstack, like he's now sort of like working there, and yeah, maybe he'll come present again. I think they've made a lot of progress, and I think it could be great to have a DXD based stablecoin, and then instead of using other stablecoins, we should be using the DXD based stablecoin. Like, this is just a thought. And yeah, like for example, swapper pairs could be with DXD based stablecoin, which would be cool.
How is that project called that wanted to do it?
Ichi.
Iching.
Martin just wrote.
Martin's got in there.
Okay.
Thank you, Violet. I think we needed that. I needed that question too.
Martin, did you ape?
But he remembers the name.
You're muted.
Yeah. I thought it was like interesting project, but I didn't really research on it. So I just did see that it went up the price. That's all.
If you didn't research, then by definition you didn't ape. Because
no, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know if it's the fun thing is that DXD holder then can have like, you can make stablecoin out of it, and then you can have more utility out of the DXD. That's
yeah.
But sometimes I think we miss like the connection to other projects because we have like we have a suite of products, and somehow I think we should open it up because it would help us to get more connected to other projects and be more attractive somehow for people holding DXD. On this case, it makes sense, I was more thinking about if you look at like the Jan is now using the project, how it's called, DAC. The token is DAC. So you can draw stablecoin out of your asset, but this only works if you are in a sushi pool because they use it as a base for the oracle to liquidate people. And this shows, if we have our own swapper, so this is the reason why we are not in a sushi pool, and this is the reason we can't use like Unity protocol, as it's called, to draw DAI or stablecoins out of DXD. And maybe Ichi is a possible way to have a stablecoin somehow. Although I don't know if it's really necessary that every project has its own stablecoin. Unity protocol, it's called.
I will say that I agree with you about like the collaboration, and I think Yearn is just doing like a fantastic job at this. And obviously, they're fairly big, and it feels like they would partner with almost anyone who has something good to offer them. And yeah, I feel like they have like
Ichi is doing it.
No, I mean like Yearn. Like Yearn have been doing just generally as a DAO is like a big.
Yeah, they're quite open. They've been quite open somehow.
Yeah, and I think there was one case where they partnered with someone and then they stopped partnering with them or something.
Yeah, they've been. Yes,
but
I can't remember now.
But I feel like this is something that we should think of how we can do that as well. Ideally, we should be partnering with as many people as possible. I guess their protocol is very partnership oriented, right? Like they're.
So you're actually minting a stablecoin, like DXD specific stablecoin.
Yeah, it's part USDC and part DXD, and then the more stablecoins you mint, the higher the ratio of the DXD in that vault becomes.
Yeah, everyone gets their own stablecoin. It's the future.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
Somehow not, but maybe
stablecoins for everyone. It sounds like a great, this is the future I was promised. No flying cars, but
I did provide liquidity for the old Gnosis and Mesa decks, and now I ended up with a lot of DXD. So I'm looking for using it somewhere because liquidity providing somehow is risky, enjoying stablecoins as long as you don't not too much under collateralized. You don't have like loss risk if you manage it somehow.
I think the planned liquidity rewards on Swapper are definitely attractive, like DXD Web.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a new situation because it was stuck in the contract for a long time, and I never touched it. So I just
I mean, and related to cooperation with OneHive, I think Chris Powers actually mentioned this morning, but when they launch Agave, it would be really cool to see DXD as collateral, and then you could borrow against DXD. And I actually think, especially with like the programs coming into effect shortly, the fact that there's like a lot of ETH in the treasury makes DXD quite a good like collateral. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just if you think hodlly, then you need somehow I would not draw a stablecoin because I'm not doing leverage stuff. It's for people leveraging their token. I'm stopped doing this. So, but some kind of utility is just nice. Either if you just provide liquidity on the pool or, but
Yeah, I agree. And also like I think another very nice opportunity for us collaborating with OneHive. I actually think that like there are tons of opportunities for us to work with OneHive to get like really close together as like a XDAI team all together. I think having Omen using Agave as like a backend yield infrastructure would be also like a huge opportunity for Agave and definitely Omen. Like imagine someone's depositing DAI into Omen and they like directly earning yield, even not doing anything. So I think that is like still a very big opportunity.
Yeah.
There's also a initiative that John had mentioned in the chat that like trying to gather the tokens of different communities that would be useful to be on Omen and on Swapper. And so like the immediate one, which was the idea proposed, was around Rye, and potentially having like Rye community was asking, like had been waiting for Rye to be on Augur, for example. And so we could put Rye as a collateral token on Omen. And then there was like this turned into the discussion of should Omen on XDAI have lots of collateral tokens or should it just be XDAI pretty much? And there's open discussion because some think that like focusing on XDAI is like the only token and keeping the user experience very tight is good and good for users. And others think that the power of Omen is the openness and permissionlessness of it and the way to do impact markets and do futarchy experiments and things like that. And in that case, you need more tokens as collateral on Omen. And so there is an open discussion on whether Rye should be added to Omen, but in order to be used on Omen, you'd probably want it to be have a swapper pool as well. So should DXDAO hold Rye, create a pool with Rye as one of its stable tokens, and then should that become a collateral token on Omen, and then like bringing in the Rye community would be a positive for Omen.
So I think that would be a really great thing to like, I don't know if we post that idea for a proposal like on Rye's forum, because there's a bunch of different areas where we could collaborate, and like it would be nice to like collaborate in all of the areas, but hard to figure out exactly where both sides would align. But I like Rye a lot. I would think it's a great asset both for DXDAO to hold within its treasury and also one with great fees for Swapper. And I think that they align a lot in a lot of different areas. So yeah, I definitely support in any way we can collaborate further.
Yeah, I agree. Like I'm always going back and forth about like simplicity and ease of use, but it is a very strategic and important and like an low-hanging fruit for us to be like better than Augur in terms of Omen can actually like easily support all kind of ERC20 tokens as long as we have like a clear partnership with the tokens like Stake. If they commit to like creating markets or providing liquidity or liquidity rewards, definitely include Stake and yeah, doing more partnerships.
Yeah. Yes, I think maybe the bottom line is that we need more partnerships and we need to pursue them and figure out how to execute on them. Yeah, is there any other thoughts before we close the call? And I think just the last bit, like Nathan has a good point here. Like if a proposal happens and we get the other party or whatever to propose, then it likely will pass. So yeah, I guess this is where the bottleneck stands. We need to make the proposals or help them make the proposals. Yeah, maybe we can have like a proposal template. I think we've had a couple. Like I can find proposal templates, but yeah. Or I guess maybe this is for Keenan. Like we might be able to have like how to collaborate with the DXDAO type PR or marketing, where you'd say first you post in the forum, then you take it to the Discord or chat, join the BizDev call, and finally create the DAO proposal. It'd be interesting to talk about it. I can help you with that, Keenan. So.
Yeah, cool.
If there's no other things, we can. Peace.
Cool. All right.
Bye, guys.
Later, everyone.
See you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Take care.